How is religion used to manipulate the public? What lies are leaders willing to tell to keep their status in a hierarchy of their own design, and how do their actions affect the people? How does the loss of religion lead to the rejection of the status quo? Dark Souls is one of the most celebrated and highly rewarded games of all time. It sports tough but fair combat, a world layout that loops back on itself, and lore over the lore. This is a semiotic analysis. I'll be analyzing the symbols visually provided by the game and how they can be perceived. Key symbols being heaven and hell, and how these religious symbols connect to the political ideologies present in Dark Souls. I will show how these symbols are used on the surface level, under lore interpretation, and the external symbolic level, to make the player rethink their role not only in Dark Souls, but in the wider world around them. Note that I am biased, both politically and spiritually, and how I, as an individual, have perceived the game. I'm running off Death of the Author, and I will be mainly analyzing the symbols visually provided by the game, and how they increase the player's perception of the game and the external world. There are some things that I'll have to go into just to set the scene. Souls are pseudo-physical things. All alive beings have some, and the more they have, the more powerful they become. Beings can consume souls of other beings by killing them. They can also be used for trade.
I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
And increasing your power. The world was surrounded by grey fog. This was the Age of Ancients. Then the first flame was found. Powerful souls were found in the flame, and were consumed by Gwyn and his compatriots. Gwyn was guided by the primordial serpents, and a new age of fire was ushered in. The Chaos Witch created a new separate flame, different from the first flame. They became leaders of the demons in Isileth. Humanity came into existence. Some were cursed with the dark sign, making true death impossible. They now stand through endless resurrection. Those who have lost the will to live, but are still cursed with the dark sign, become hollow, a creature that mindlessly occupies their past role in society. Knights, defenders, merchants. But the flame began to fade, and the Age of Dark nearly came upon the world. So Gwyn gave his soul to the fire, extending the Age of Fire. The undead, the player character, is released from the Northern Undead Asylum, and must ring 2 bells of awakening. One bell is guarded by the bell gargoyles, and the other by Kōwae. Thus opening Sen's fortress, and in turn Anolondo.
Chosen undead, your fate is to succeed the great Lord Gwyn, so that you may link the fire, cast away the dark, and undo the curse of the undead. To this end, you must visit Anolondo and acquire the Lord Vessel.
We retrieve the Lord Vessel and return to Frampt. We find and turn in Lord Souls, opening the door to the kiln of the first flame. Gwyn, the final boss, must be defeated, and standing before us is the final choice, continuing the Age of Fire or ushering a new Age of Dark. Sen's fortress is a test. It tests your reaction skills, and so are the bell gargoyles, which you need to defeat to gain access to Sen's fortress. You can see the gargoyles around the Golem arena. Even the same gargoyles appear in Anor Londo. From this we can intuit that the Bell Gargoyles were also a test. Their inclusion in Anor Londo means the test of Sen's Fortress was made for Gwyn to test the undead's resilience. Golem, by the name itself, appears to be a reference to the Golem of Hebrew legend, a giant created by man, an inherently artificial being. And what is it being used for? A test to see if you are worthy for the golden city in the sky. These tests, created for the chosen undead, are used to prove the undead's resilience towards the goal stated by Fromt. You've spent the past couple of hours wading through poisonous swamps, defeating the Chaos Witch, Kōwae, and the trials of Sen's Fortress, fate elucidated by the Kingseeker Fromt. Anor Londo, the palace of Gwyn's family. Anor Londo stands as a signifier of just a castle, but once signified, it appears as heaven. Anor Londo, on a surface level reading, is a massive castle. In the lore, it is the palace of Gwyn and his family. Symbolically, it stands as an analogue for heaven, above the suffering from below. You are, quite physically, lifted above for pursuing a higher purpose, not unlike biblical themes of rising for a higher purpose. Guinevere, Queen of Anor Londo, tantalizing, exclusive, mythical.
Since the day Father his form did obscureth, I have awaited thee, once living, now undead, and a fitting heir to Father Gwyn thou art, O chosen undead, and beseech thee. Succeed Lord Gwyn, and inheriteth the fire of our world, a grave and arduous test of metal, yea, it shall be. Indeed, we had felt the warmth of fire, its radiance and the life it sustaineth. Without fire, all shall be a frigid and frightful dark.
And she doesn't even exist. She is an illusion, and so is the rest of Anor Londo.
Thou that tarnisheth the godmother's image, I am Gwyndolin. And thy transgression shall not go unpunished. Thou shalt perish in the twilight of Anor Londo.
Without fire, all shall be a frigid and frightful dark, frigid and frightful dark, frigid and frightful dark.
What is heaven used for if it doesn't exist? Heaven has often been used to keep people within the church. If you stop believing in God, you won't go to heaven. If you disobey God, you won't go to heaven. They use fear to keep you under their power.
Without fire, all shall be a frigid and frightful dark.
Gwyn here is making the undead fear the Age of Dark, and, in turn, continue the Age of Fire. It has been known in history that kingdoms require the word of God to uphold their political standing and have their placement in the hierarchy to be divine truth.
Kingdom endureth forever. Amen.
This ensures that, if a revolution were to happen, the revolution would be, in a sense, against God. This is a sort of holy insurance. In literal truth, they are just some guys, and with the advent of atheism within the last couple centuries, very few monarchies remain. While the parallels of Gwyn being the king in this scenario might work, I believe, semiotically, that Gwyn is closer to a pope. The flame appears to be closer to the idea of king. Gwyn and his followers created tests, created illusions of heaven to manipulate the undead into sustaining the flame and continuing the current society.
Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son. What now? What should I do?
All of these symbols, what is heaven used for? Making the public believe a ruling class is divine truth, and when we realize that it's an illusion, we begin to question its purpose. Hell is usually depicted below the surface of Earth. Dig too far down and you'll reach it. In Dark Souls, hell is right at the bottom. It's got the lava, the demons, you name it. On the surface level this appears to be a clear analogue to hell, but if you dig deeper, you become less sure. While other bosses, up until this point, have been made to test your strength. The Iron Golem and the Bell Gargoyles have been proven to be made by Gwyn's compatriots, specifically to test your strength. Quelaag, on the other hand, is defending her sick and blind sister.
Quelaag, my dear sister, the eggs, it hurts. They've gone still.
As well as the entrance to Izalith, the home of the demons. The demon ruins and Izalith are closer to a refuge for demons. They seem to be closer to defending the place rather than testing your power. The demons, on the surface level, are enemies. They stand in your way to your goal, so they must be defeated. Upon reading into the lore, we find that demons had their own society. They have their written language, religion, and even fought against Gwyn. Some kind of treaty must have been made between Gwyn and the demons. Given the Asylum demon is guarding the exit from the starting area, Northern Undead Asylum. The demons in Anor Londo proved this. Gwyn's assimilation of the demons is not unlike Christianity's assimilation of older gods and turning them into demons. The devil's appearance in medieval art was otherworldly, twisted by sin into hideousness. Their bodies was beast-like, depicted with a tail, long ears, talons, and hooves. Much of this imagery is believed to be adapted from classical images of Pan or lusty satyrs. The Capra demon bears striking similarities to the pagan or Gnostic deity Baphomet, which later in life became a symbol for Satanism. Where one culture conquers or submerges another, the conquered set of gods was often assimilated into the pantheon of the conqueror, or denigrated into lesser but more malign entities. Only in relation to real-world Christianity do the demons appear villainous, but in reality of the game they are defenders. While there are some demons outside of the demon ruins and Lost Izalith, you can avoid them with the right planning and game knowledge. The only demon you have to kill is the Asylum demon. What stands as hell is refuge, and what stands as heaven is an illusion. The world of Dark Souls is dying, but most of its inhabitants have become hollow. The castles are crumbling. All because Gwyn refuses to let go of the Age of Fire. This game has repeatedly taken the player's preconceived notions of what is right and what is wrong, and flips it. Dark Souls lets you peer beyond the veil of its own world, and enlightens the perceiver to peer beyond the veil of theirs. The perceiver finds the veil of religion, conservatism. They find the artifice. And what do they find? Some dudes, some basic, fallible dudes who just got lucky. Gwyn was lucky he found the most powerful soul. Trump, Bezos, Elon are lucky they were born into wealth. Not to be hated or despised by the body of his subjects is one of the surest safeguards that a prince can have against conspiracy, for he who conspires always reckons on pleasing the people and putting the prince to death. A prince has little to fear from conspiracies when his subjects are well disposed towards him, but when they are hostile, they hold him in detestation. He has then reason to fear everything and everyone. So what will the undead do now?
Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his age of fire and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord.
So we revolt against the powers that be and reclaim the world for the greater good of its people. Let the ruling classes tremble at the undead revolution. The proletariats have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Undead of all countries, unite.
My lord, bless thy safe return. Let Cath and Fraft serve your highness. We are here to serve your highness. Let true dark be cast upon the world. Our Lord hath returned.